welcome to Blackboard Rants. I'm Tyler.
And I'm John. He's not Kyle this time.
No, I'm not Kyle. Definitely not. I'm a little taller and a little chubbier. And today, with our shots today, what are we taking today, John?
Doing some Sriracha shots.
Sriracha. So, can you explain a little bit, like the origin or something? So what do you know about this thing?
It's an Asian sauce. It's really popular right now. Looks kind of...
It looks pretty thick.
Yeah, chunky and pasty.
Oh, man.
It's going to be like drinking ketchup.
Oh.
It's going to be amazing.
God. I think it I think give me a little more, but that's okay. Let's see here.
Got an interesting smell to it.
It's got the vinegar, but yeah, it has that sweet smell to it.
Sriracha hot chili sauce. Hong Fong Foods Inc.
Wow.
They almost had to shut down their factory because the neighbors didn't like the smell. There was a
Wow.
whole big dispute out there in California.
Oh, wow.
All right, you ready? It's just the thickness that's getting me.
Me too.
All right.
You had that sweet, but then right away, the spice starts coming up right away.
And maybe like an oniony flavor.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I hate that.
That definitely a lot thicker than the other sauces we've tried.
Yeah. And
So the texture isn't great for shots.
Yeah. Right.
If you're thinking of doing it at home,
Right.
definitely not a shot
Right.
worthy.
Ooh, wow. Ooh, I'm starting to feel it up in my ears.
Yeah.
Huh.
Can feel it in the back of my throat a little bit.
Same here. Okay.
All right, now that we did that, let's try and make it through the show.
All right. The first thing is comics versus graphic novels. Now, before we get into this, I got something to show you guys here. I got this here. It's a graphic novel that you introduced me to back during my internship. We were shooting for a show that you edit for, and you took me to this comic book store. And the city is Appleton, by the way. And yeah, what was the name of that comic book store?
That was Chimera we went to.
Yes. And I was kind of looking into getting into comic books, and I didn't know what. And all of a sudden, John just kind of pulled this out and go, here's a graphic novel. The issues is, by the way, the comic book here is Batman and Robin, Born to Kill, Volume 1. It's issues 1 through 8, all in one thing.
Yeah, of the new 52 Batman.
Yes, by the way, yeah.
Well, he was
didn't
asking
see
where
that.
to start. I said, might as well
Right there.
start at the beginning of the new 52.
Exactly, and it wasn't too long before the new 52 actually started, so I didn't know if it was actually in the talks or if it actually started by the time I got this, and I kind of forgot about this actually, and I was at a Barnes & Noble, and I thought, hey, I might as well go look at the comics, and I did, and I actually got really inspired to actually start thinking about collecting, and actually I thought, oh wait, I have this, and never went and actually read this. And one day I decided just to take and I read it, and it was really, really good. And the cool thing about this is the Robin in here is actually Bruce Wayne's son.
Damien.
And
With Talia al Ghul.
yep, go ahead and
so
explain
he's
it a little bit.
Talia al Ghul, you'll know if you watch Batman, Begins, and she was in the third one that shall not be mentioned of that trilogy. She's the daughter of Ra's al Ghul.
Liam Neeson.
And in the books, Bruce Wayne had a kid with her, and it's Damien.
Right.
And so now she dumped him
Onto Batman,
and
thinking that he would quit being Batman, but then said, I'm going to make you the other Robin.
Yeah, so then he became a Robin. So that's where this story kind of picks up that you got.
And at first, after Superman Returns, I didn't like the thought of superheroes having kids and whatnot, and they actually executed this really well, and they actually gave Damian a character, and it's actually pretty cool, and it's really hard not to talk about this and not ruin the whole story, but yeah, that leads us into our second subject, comics versus graphic novels. So, I obviously have my own personal preference as to graphic novels, and so John, what do you think? What do you think?
I really like the graphic novels. They let you read a whole story without having to find all the different pieces.
Right.
But also, they leave out different pieces as well.
Oh, okay.
Because you can't normally fit all the issues into one
Right.
book. Because sometimes they span, it'll be the Batman story will go off into the Superman comic. And so sometimes those don't get collected together when they put them in the book form. But otherwise, they're really good for getting the gist of a story, and like I said, you don't have to. I've been searching for years yet to get the whole Nightfall saga
Right.
in comic books. I've read it all in graphic novel, and I've read it in the novel, and I collected a whole bunch, but there's still one or two issues that I haven't found.
Wow.
Granted, I'm not looking that hard. I just skim every time I'm
Right, because I am going
in
to
a store.
eBay a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not hounding on eBay looking for it or anything. It's just if I come across it, I'll buy
Right.
it.
And one of the most recent graphic novels I got was the Guardians of the Galaxy here.
That was actually carried at Walmart. They were carrying that and Spider-Man 1 and Captain America book and I think an Avengers book too.
Right.
And that's the first time that I've seen graphic novels carried in Walmart.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. And they were cheap. They were like $3 or something a piece.
Yeah.
Where usually those books are like 12.
Right. And
know.
you actually got this when the event Guardians of the Galaxies was, I believe, was either on DVD, just came on DVD.
Yeah, I think it had just come out on DVD when I got that.
Right. And I think it all comes down to his personal preference. And like me, I kind of want to get the gist of the story because you tell me all these great stories like the Nightfall, and I really want to know about all of them. And not only do I have the patience, but I guess I really have the adventure-esque type of thing to go out and find every single issue and trying to get like the little bits and pieces. And
well, and like I said, even with the Nightfall, Night Quest, Night's End storyline, even if you buy different versions of the graphic novels, they have different stuff included.
Right.
That wasn't included in that one, or it's not included in this one, and
right.
So you gotta check what you're getting,
Exactly.
And sometimes, if you bought book one from one release and book two from another, it might get confusing with the stuff that's
and that
not
was
in there.
That was the thing that I actually got confused too when I was kind of looking for this, and I'm hoping that it's the volume 2 because it has the same logo in it, and the second one is actually where Robin goes up against all the other Robins to prove that he's the best among them all, and yeah. So, like I said, I think it's all personal preference.
Yeah.
I prefer graphic novels, and
I like the mix.
like the
Because sometimes you just want to have the book, the original print release.
Okay.
There's something about having that,
Right.
But then to get the whole story, it's nice to be able to sit down and read it all as one.
Right.
Like when I read the not the new 52, but the story 52, which was when the A-list characters were gone and it was all about the B-list characters.
Oh, wow.
And that one would have been a whole mess to try and find the different pieces because they weren't even all from the same book line. There was like, the 52 of this character and the 52 of that character, and so you'd have to combine them all.
And not to mention the continuities are everywhere, and
yeah,
I'm really happy that the new 52 actually started because all of a sudden I become like, John, what do I do? What I have this, Batman does this, and all of a sudden he has a kid?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Yeah. That really wouldn't have turned out very well.
All right, what's our next topic?
Kid shows that should be movies. Go ahead.
My number one, it used to be Transformers, and Michael Bay's ruined that. And, Voltron, they're doing it, and there's talks about Thundercats and He-Man. The one you never hear about is called Exo-Squad. And it's called, by the people who follow it, the American anime, because it's well drawn and well thought out for a kid's show. I mean, I was telling you that the way the first 2 seasons went, you could lift the script almost verbatim and just update the dialogue, make it more
mature, right?
than it was, but the story arcs would work beautifully as a trilogy of movies.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, it's probably pretty much everybody because this cartoon was canceled very quickly after 2 seasons and aired at like 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning when it was on. It's about humans created this race of genetically engineered neo-sapiens, they're called, to be their slaves, and then they had an uprising and fought, and then the humans created mechs that they call E-frames to fight against them, and they quelled them, and then years later there's another revolt, and that's what this story takes place. And they really parallel it to, there's stuff in there from World War II, and then there's, lots of links between World War II and World War One in the way that it all unfolds, and even stories, and they kill off characters, and they get into all kinds of philosophy about whether or not genetically engineered same as natural born people.
Right.
And it's just amazing. And every time I see a movie with a mech in it, I'm like, oh, they can make an exo-squad movie. But they never do. And they haven't even released the second season on DVD because the first season didn't sell very well. So I have to watch crappy pirated version. And yours is a mech show too, isn't it?
It's pretty close. One of my shows that I used to watch as a kid, it was actually pretty on opposite of yours. It was on really, really late, and it was actually called Gundam. Mm-hmm. And now I know there's like different like spin-offs and shows that they did of it, but the one that I used to watch, they had one main character, and he was able to harness some type of power. And now, as I'm saying this, really sounds a lot like Pacific Rim right now. Except, though, they had 2 guys. There's only one. Unless they could use 2. I'm not too sure. But that's why I actually have 2 selections, so I can like match up for the length of time that you were talking about. And so, go on to the next one. It was actually another show called Shinzo. Shinzo, I just remember, was actually a place. And there's about these 3 creatures or people, whatever, help out this last human on Earth get to the city of Shinzo, and I don't know, but it's like a balance type of thing. But it was actually a really, really cool show. And so those are my shows that I really want to have them turn into a show, because it's almost like your show. It appealed to adults as well, but just like make the dialogue and everything more mature, and yeah, they could achieve greatness.
And where you can watch some of this stuff is on the internet.
Yeah.
And so what do we think is the best way to watch on the internet? I believe that's our next topic.
Netflix versus Hulu. I'm guessing the one person who's watching this would be guessing about time.
I'm guessing that they're thinking YouTube because they're watching it on YouTube.
True. So go ahead. What do you think? What do you think? Alex?
I like Netflix, except for their strange selection of what is streaming and what's not.
Right.
Sometimes it just doesn't make sense. And Hulu, I used to watch it when there was a lot more free content because you have to watch the commercials.
Right.
And with my connection, I would have to watch the shows on the lowest setting.
Yep.
To the lowest quality setting to watch them. But then the commercials always played on the highest setting. So it would be like a 10-minute commercial break for me, because that's how long it would take to buffer through the commercials.
Right.
And so it would be like, I'm watching the show. Oh, commercial. I better find something to do for 10 minutes because it's going to take that long to buffer through it.
Right.
And that just pissed me off. And then they with the Prime, you still have to watch the commercials.
Really?
Yeah. Which you're paying for it and you got to watch the commercials. And like I said, it wouldn't be as big a deal to me if it were set up better. Like I said, with this, the streaming commercials still just freeze on me.
Right.
But I'm watching the show just fine. Then the commercial will freeze, and then I'm stuck there waiting for that to buffer through. And
right.
It's just annoying, especially if you were paying for it.
Right.
So then I just found Con TV, which is run by the people who run
Comic-Con?
the Comic-Con, and they have original shows and other shows on there. I haven't really explored it. I don't know if there's any pay features or if you just have to sign up. Some of the stuff you can watch without signing up, and then some of the stuff you have to sign up for.
Right.
And like I said, I don't know if there's a pay feature. I just found it like 2 days ago,
Oh,
so I
okay.
haven't explored it in depth so much.
Right.
And then there's those pirate sites you can watch stuff on.
Oh yeah.
But between Hulu and Netflix, I definitely like Netflix better. It just streams better on my slow connection, and the fact that there's no commercials for the money
Right.
that you pay.
And that's where you and I kind of go on the opposite sides. I haven't really experienced Hulu. I've talked to some of my family who explained Hulu to me. I never really bothered to get into it until recently. And so right now I'm going to say Netflix because that's the only experience. But I don't watch Netflix as much because of my connection and having multiple people in the same household, being on iPads, being on phones. And all of a sudden you see that death circle going around. And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
so,
when I had a roommate, if I was watching
Yeah.
Netflix
Yeah.
and he would log on to the internet to do anything, it would start to buffer. But since I live alone with my slow ass connection, it doesn't really bother me right now.
And so, yeah, I really want to experience Hulu. I think after doing a little more research and whatnot, and like what you explained, what me and you talked about it, I'm kind of a little hesitant yet, but I don't think it's gonna hurt. So yeah, right now for me, it's gonna be Netflix.
All right.
And so the next thing is movie ideas that need a second chance.
Well, why don't you start off, because this was your category, and
Right,
mine's
so-
just going to be a rant that most people are going to find not to be to their liking. So
Okay, so the movie that I think deserves a second chance is Spider-Man 3. Yes, that one. The thing that they need to change for me is Peter's newly developed attitude when the Venom suit kind of takes him over. Instead of being like a jazz guy, like, do, you know, it's so ridiculous. That's not how the 90s cartoon portrayed him to be. I mean, he was a badass dude and not like a dude that you could probably see in New Orleans every weekend, you know what I mean? That really killed it for me. And so yeah, I think now actually because of that, I can't watch the Spider-Man trilogy anymore because knowing what it leads up to just
well, the problem with Spider-Man 3 for me was the villains. Most of all is Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin 2, and his whole arc is completely stupid. Whereas there's just some stupid elements to Peter Parker's arc there,
Yeah.
dancing. But Harry starts off, he hates Spider-Man, then he gets a concussion and he doesn't care, but then he wants to love Mary Jane, and then all of a sudden he hates Spider-Man again, and then the butler comes and tells him, "No, I saw your father die by his own hand."
Spider-Man didn't kill him.
That butler, by the way, is Bill Paxton's father.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then all of a sudden he goes from hating Spider-Man again back to wanting to help Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and that whole thing, and then
It could have been avoided.
trying to bring sympathy to Sandman. I mean, he just lets him go because he was trying to help his sick daughter when he killed all those people stealing money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just that. That's the part of the movie I could have handled if they would have handled the villains well,
Right.
and Venom not showing the face of the actor after he became Venom. If they would have just had him be Venom,
Right.
and then cut out the Green Goblin 2 from the story,
Right.
and done better with Sandman,
Right.
I would have been able to handle the jazzy version of Peter Parker.
Maybe.
Um,
Maybe.
but it's just other elements of that movie.
And there's a whole other thing too. Me and you kind of touched on it, not too like during my internship. But what's the whole thing with the director purposely making it a bad movie because he wanted to stick it to Sony? Or
Well, no.
if you could explain it real quick.
The story goes, unconfirmed, that Sam Raimi hated Venom, thought it was a horrible character, and never wanted to use it in his trilogy.
Right.
But then the studio made him shove it in at the last minute after they had already begun production, is what I hear. That they told him, no, you're sticking Venom in there. And so that's how it all turned out the way it did.
Oh, okay.
So, that's all unconfirmed and we don't know. Now, I guess my movie, it's actually several movies. It's the fact. Okay, here, Internet. I know that you all love this guy's movies. I mean, the boners out there for this guy's movies are so hard all over the internet and all over film schools. And that is Stanley Kubrick. You can't say anything bad about Stanley Kubrick anywhere. I actually did write a paper talking bad about Stanley Kubrick to a professor that I knew loved him, and I didn't get such a good grade on it, even though my points were all sound. But I
admitted he wrote, "You fucking bastard."
I don't like Stanley Kubrick's films. They look good, but his pacing always kills me. Always.
And this is the guy who created Clockwork Orange, right?
Yeah.
That was the reason why I couldn't watch it. Truth be honest, that's
Clockwork
the reason.
Orange and 2001 and The Shining. I would love them if they were done by a different director. But I just cannot stand Kubrick's pacing. It just kills me. And he'll stay on a shot for so long that you're just like, come on. And so, I know you're going to hate it, Internet, but that's the truth. I wish that somebody else had made every one of Kubrick's movies. And then I would have loved him.
Like Michael Bay?
If you took Michael Bay's pacing with the direction of Stanley Kubrick, it actually could have been good. It's just...
Stanley Bay? Stanley Bay.
Yeah.
Get a Stanley Bay out there.
That's it, Internet. Stanley Bay should be the next big director.
Yes.
You heard it here first, and that is the end of our show.
Yes, it is. Actually, it is. Yeah.